Hello, and welcome to the Argyle Financial Controller Leadership Forum. My name is Brittany Sullivan with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. I have some important information to share with you, and then we will turn the floor over to our esteemed opening keynote speaker. First, we would like to take a moment to thank today's sponsors, Bill, Lease Accelerator, and Visual Lease. Our sponsors are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page, which include complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. We also welcome you to stay socially connected during today's event. For those of you who are active on social media, please use the hashtag ArgyleDigital and follow us at Argyle Exec Forum. Also, be sure to follow Argyle on LinkedIn for special announcements. Finally, and most importantly, we would love to hear from you. So during each session, we encourage you to submit your questions and comments in the Q&A box on your screen. Following each presentation, we have set aside time for our speakers to weigh in on your questions. Thank you again for joining us. Now let's get started. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Brenna Albert, Global Controller at Medline Industries. We're excited to have Brenna with us for our opening keynote titled Financial Controllers as Strategic Partners to CFOs and Business. Welcome, Brenna, and over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Brittany. I'm very happy to be here and share some thoughts with you all today about the evolution of the controllership organization and the role of controllers as we navigate ever-changing operating environments. So, looking forward to the session and hopefully providing a few insights for the group. So, why don't we get started here with just a little bit about me, how I got to the seat today, and some things that have sort of shaped my perspective, over the years in my careers in and out of finance. So I won't go through all the detail on this slide, but something we'll share is that I did take a little bit of an unconventional path to the controller role. So finance is actually my second career. And I started out in mathematics education after getting two bachelor's degrees for the University of Southern California. Made a career change a few years into my life as a teacher. Spent some time as a university lecturer in accounting. Got a master's degree in accounting, and then decided to leave academia and see what the real world was all about. So I've been very fortunate in my career to date to have the opportunity to help companies solve interesting problems, and really most recently in my career in a couple of organizations, having the opportunity to help companies make the transition from being privately held to being publicly traded. So both a large, a multinational, and then a smaller startup kind of a business. So, I feel like these experiences have given me an interesting perspective, that I'm looking forward to sharing, with the group today, as we, many of us, right, are on a journey in our careers. Our companies are constantly navigating evolving environments. So as I reflect on my time at pre-IPO companies and taking companies through these processes, I just see a lot of parallels and similarities, which hopefully will help frame the discussion today and be useful to this group. So just a little bit about my road to getting here. And when I reflect back on my career and some of the things that I've done, when I think about accomplishments and then major learnings, we'll say, along the way, what I would really say is, my greatest accomplishments are always associated with people. Bringing people into organizations, helping people develop and learn new things, build in their careers. And what makes me happiest, and this might be grounded in my background as an educator, is when I hear from my former employees years later, whether just to catch up or providing a reference, or maybe some mutual mentorship, both directions, and just seeing how those folks have developed, and really seeing people again develop and grow whatever their goals are, in their careers. And, similarly, when I look back at learnings, along the way, I've definitely been part of, evolution, organizational change, a lot of change management. And again, when, I look back on, things I could have done better, right? It's really, making sure that I'm not only focused on, hey, let's, we climb this mountain, let's climb the next one, let's climb the next one. Let's make sure that we take the time to celebrate those successes, and then, just as importantly, learn, from those experiences, right? And whether that's implementing a new financial system, right? Implementing new controls, taking a company through a major acquisition or merger, which I've seen several times, throughout my career. Make sure to keep that focus on people, and always be looking for those opportunities, to learn. So, some foundational things, and just pieces of advice that I've picked up along the way is always ask questions and don't assume. And, this I think is in many, many contexts, just making expectations clear. Don't assume that someone understands, understands you. Don't assume that you understand, other folks' priorities, or what they're trying to communicate. Just always confirm. Ask a lot of questions, and beyond just intellectual curiosity, it's a little bit of communication, as well. Find ways to help. I think the best piece of career advice I probably got very early on was try to find ways to make your boss's life easier, your colleagues' lives easier, your employees' lives easier, right? And that will not only, help you progress your career, but also to be very fulfilling, right? Knowing that, you go in, you can make a difference for those around you every day. Adapt, but stay grounded. And we're definitely going to talk about this when we get to, a little more of the practical application here. We are constantly changing and adapting in our roles as controllers in today's operating environment. Expectations are changing. We're doing more with less. So being adaptable is critical, but stay grounded to what are our core priorities as a controllership? Who are our stakeholders? What is it that we're trying to do? And always, of course, stay grounded who you are as an authentic leader, because with the labor dynamics in today's environment, if you are not an authentic leader, you can't really fake until you make it. You need to be yourself, and employees really need to see that and be invested in you, as a leader. And then again, don't forget, people are the foundation of everything that we do. We have chat GPT, we have AI, we have all sorts of technologies that are critical for our future success. We'll talk about some of those things, though I'm certainly not an expert. But still, people are at the foundation of our success as controllers and leaders of again, ever-changing and adapting organizations. And then when I, kind of sum up my personal mission statement, and something I aspire to, and I look at this quote every single day. I pull it up in my notes every single day. I'm a leader who listens, learns, and makes thoughtful choices every day to help others grow. So again, we are focused on process, we're focused on technology, but we always need to be focused on people and making sure that we bring our best selves as leaders every day, so our teams can bring their best selves to help us, as again, we support our organizations as business partners. So let's kind of get into the focus of today, right? So how do we build a roadmap, for the controllership organization to meet the needs of our business today, and then plan for the future? As over the last several years, we've navigated the global pandemic, we've navigated different dynamics in hybrid and remote work environments. We've navigated a shortage that continues in accounting talent. So, how do we go about just defining what it is that we do as that definition continues to evolve? So, when I moved into my role at Medline, going on 2 years ago, a little short of that, I had a lot of outreach from advisors and folks really wanting to help support me, in my role. So I've got, a couple of visions here of what a controllership is, right? I really, in the last year and a half, focused on developing and building a world-class global controllership organization, here at Medline. And I've had to explain, what's the value proposition of controllership? What is it that we do? Who is it that we are, right? And how do we add value? And again, that's really, the focus of all the agenda items for the day. So let's kind of start with this graphic from one of our friends in the Big Four. So what is the role of the controllership, right? So, we obviously are serving our stakeholders, right? We have the compliance hat that I like to say that we wear. So we're managing risk for the organization, and we really are fundamentally in a compliance type of a role. And what we're trying to do is affect that, well-controlled and compliant organization through effective, efficient operations and, KPIs and high performance. And then the idea is here, I think, that we're creating value, kind of by doing all of these things, right? So, if we kind of look at the way that this particular graphic is laid out, we've got stakeholders kind of on the top, we have risk over to one side, we have growth over on another side, and then we've got our kind of everyday core functions. What I think is interesting about this, and I think there's a lot of great material here, it kind of looks like we're being pulled in these different directions, right? So we're preserving value for the company, we're managing risk, we're thinking about the balance sheet, and then we're trying to support growth. And are these things pulling us, apart, or are they aligned? Right. So, it's just something that when I looked at this the first time, I was really reflecting on. It's like, well, are these competing priorities? Right. We're obviously all very busy as controllers in a role. The book starts with us in many regards. But are these things actually in conflict? Right. Or really do they go hand in hand? So then I have another view, of what we do as controllers and kind of what controllership is, right? So a process of governing and managing, all this data for the organization, the financial reporting, accounting analysis, governance, oversight. So lots of things going on here, all sorts of data. Data is a major, buzzword, of the day for good reason, right? What are we doing with all this unstructured data to and turn it into meaningful information? So, I think this is a super interesting view as well, and kind of talking about some of the main things and aspects of our roles, that we do on a daily basis. Oh, I also think is interesting though about this is we have all sorts of kind of day-to-day tasks and responsibilities, kind of grounded, here with this model of information, our policies, right? How we deliver, this information, make it meaningful. And then we kind of have over here on the side, this other little tree, I guess, is things like special projects, M&A, new technology, IPO, right? And these, are no small tasks here, right? Is what I would say. And when we think about our roles, right, we have all of these things that we do. And anytime the business wants to do a major transaction, who kind of gets squeezed in that situation? Well, it's the finance team, and a lot of the time it's the controllership organization, because we are sort of the gatekeepers at the end of the day of all of this information and making sure that it's timely, it's accurate, right, and it's supporting the decision making process. So kind of quickly, this little tree here can sort of take over as we're just trying to deliver, right, on the super important things, that we need to for the business, again, to support the growth of the organization, which is, again, I think in this model, the metaphor is, this tree here is what we're helping to cultivate, right, to support the business as it grows into the future. So very different views, I guess is what I would say, of the controllership organization and what it is that we do. So, kind of thinking about this, are we the unsung superheroes of our organizations? Right? Because again, we're the gatekeepers of all this really important information. The buck stops with us, right? Or at sometimes, do we feel a little more like, right? We have all this data, everything coming at us as we're trying to deliver, and then we've got these special projects, technology, M&A transactions, major strategic elements of the business. This just kind of come in and take over. And when we think about some other challenges we face, like doing more with less, do we feel a little more like, Chicken Little over here, right? So, there's just a lot going on. How do we make sure we're focusing on the right things here? So I think what the key takeaway is that as controllers, we do a lot, and historically we have, right? That hasn't really changed over the years. So in the evolving environment in which we find ourselves, how do we make sure that we're focusing on the right things, right? That we make sure that our operations on a day-to-day basis are smooth. So when, we've got these big projects coming in, that we can be agile, right? We can be responsive, not necessarily reactive, to these things that come. So, when I think about the environment in which controllers and organizations are operating, there's a lot of data points, that we need to take in, right, to digest and analyze to be able to determine, what our roadmaps look like. What are the things that we're focusing on? So obviously the needs of the business and major transactions. There's a kind of a new focus on the balance sheet, particularly with some economic factors that are going on, including the changing cost of capital, managing working capital, and we're sort of the rulers of the balance sheet. IT roadmap is absolutely critical, understanding where the business is going to invest and how that will support our organizations. Doing more with less, particularly with the labor dynamics, in our industry, right? So expectations are increasing, the labor pool is shrinking, right? How do we work through this, right? And that kind of goes hand in hand with the IT roadmap, right? How do we leverage technology, to be able to deliver, right? Again, higher expectations with maybe more constrained resources. Then we have these outside stakeholders. We have our auditors coming in, more PCAOB requirements for those at publicly traded companies, right? Other compliance and regulatory requirements. We think that ESG reporting controllers are clearly going to be pulled in that direction as well, along with additional compensation type disclosures and requirements and financial disclosures that are constantly evolving for public and private entities. And then obviously our stakeholders, right? So this is internal, this is external stakeholders. They're taking in their feedback and their expectations. And then kind of a theme is our employees, right? What are they expecting, right, out of their careers in these challenging times? And how do we help them see how rewarding their careers are, again, even as those expectations are changing. So, how I've kind of thought about this is I frame my roadmap, again, being newer to my organization, really trying to build, a team, really to take us into the future and continue to scale with us as we grow. It's translating all of this and trying to break it down into what my real priorities are, as a controller in this changing environment. So, one major theme I would say is find ways to simplify our processes. There are many ways we can do that. I'll talk a little bit about that, as we continue to move through the presentation here. But it is absolutely critical as we're thinking about the demands of the business, right? Doing more with fewer resources, leveraging technology. We need to find ways to simplify what we do every day. Delivering quality to stakeholders, that's external, that's internal. I don't think that compliance and the business strategy are necessarily pulling us in different directions. They should be aligned, right? Things like ESG, right? That should be aligned to the business's equity story and the growth. Yes, it's a compliance requirement, but these things really go together. So delivering quality for all of the reasons for the business. And then again, freeing ourselves up to be the critical business partners that we truly are. Again, another example I would say is focusing on the balance sheet, right? We are the rulers of the balance sheet. We understand it better than anyone else in the organization, right? So how do we make sure that we are, freeing ourselves up to act in that really important capacity? So what I call these are the foundational imperatives, right? So we need to build best-in-class processes to support our evolving organizations and kind of be successful in an evolving environment. So, kind of as we move on here, when I think about, my first foundational imperative, which is find ways to simplify, it's really these three elements: process, technology, and people. Obviously, internal controls are inherent, kind of in all of this. And what I would say is the most important, I think catchphrase I have as a controller is closing the books is not an event. If closing the books on a day-to-day basis is an event, there's a problem, right? We need to simplify the process. We need to take things out of the process. We can do that with, thoughtful, collaboration with our team members, asking why, right? And then eliminating things that are not value added. If we think back to that graphic, right, we're trying to do the day-to-day and these other projects come in. If closing the books is something that constrains us, we're not going to be successful, right? There's not enough room in our systems and processes for that additional work without just burning, the midnight oil to get things done. We absolutely need to build partnerships with our IT organizations and help them prioritize, among all the emerging technologies out there. This is, I think, one of the most critical partnerships that we can have, within our organizations. And we need to be strategic, right? And again, these things go hand in hand, finding ways to simplify the close, eliminate things from the close, right? Get more from our our people, right, helping our people do more value-added business partnering work, we absolutely must partner successfully with IT. That's an imperative. And we need to be curious. We need to be open to learning about these new technologies and not be threatened by them. We're not going to disappear as a profession, right, because of AI. We absolutely can use AI to get operating leverage and to take some administrative or non-value added work out of the process and free ourselves up to be business partners and do analysis. Hand in hand with that, we need to show our people that we're investing in them. We need to upskill them, help them learn these technologies, instill in them a transformation mindset, right? A question I ask myself often is, have we arrived at the destination or are we still on the journey? I'm always on a journey as an individual. I think everyone is, but we need to have that same mindset and have that approach in our work. And we need to empower, our teams to be successful in this. When we think about delivering quality, again, we've got the same underlying elements here. We need to improve our communication, free ourselves to be partners. All these same things really apply, when we look at it from this perspective as well, to be able to deliver that quality to our stakeholders. So, this is a pretty well-known matrix. It's called the Eisenhower matrix. Stephen Covey, popularized this and really developed it, and, in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And again, it's a pretty basic model, but, as we prioritize day to day, right, keep these things in mind, right? We must focus on what's urgent and important. We need to empower our team members, delegate things that are urgent and not important, eliminate things that are neither, right? And then be strategic and plan, for things that are not right in front of us now, right? But that are coming in the future and include major macro trends for your business, right? We need to be strategic and plan for those. And again, the underlying aspects here of people, process, technology, and it's hand in hand with that simplification, that I talked about on the previous slide. And then I think all of these things really will enable us to act, as a critical business partner. So again, our core process, technology, and people, simplifying and transforming our teams, our process, and our business, delivering quality, and providing that business partnership and support. So, again, not only is this transformation and partnership what the business expects from us, this is what will enable us to build the business case for investment in our organizations, and show the value that we can add and bring, to the companies, we're trying to support. So if we instill that transformation mindset, among our team members and within our organizations, we empower our people, we invest in our people, right? We help them navigate these changes. We show that we, want them to learn these new technologies and, and grow their careers. And we constantly, ask why. Why are we doing what we do, right? Again, I'll say, are we at the destination or are we still on the journey? I think the answer is pretty universally yes. Then, we are freed up to be those business partners that we want to be, evolving from being tactical to being strategic, building those relationships that help you as a controller see what's coming down the pipeline, for your business so you can plan for it, not be reactive, but be responsive and be agile. You absolutely need to understand your business and your industry. As a public or a private company controller, gone are the days where we're in the back office, we're just processing transactions. That's not the whole value proposition for our organizations, right? We need to understand the trends and what's happening in our business so we can effectively plan and get ahead of these things, right? Be forward looking and forward thinking. And again, this all helps us build the business case and organizational support for investment in our teams, right? Investing in training and upskilling our talent, right? Investing in the technology that we need to remain agile and support the business and really help build our own business case for our organizations. So, I think the final thoughts here is we're thinking about building our roadmaps is just, again, reminding ourselves what our mission, as a controllership organization is. And, this can really look differently for different folks, certainly not boilerplate here. But, when we think about our mission, who are we, right? Well, we all want to be world-class controllership organizations and world-class controllers, right? We support our business partners and our stakeholders who we serve. And again, I would say our compliance hat and our business strategy hat are, they're hand in hand right? They're not pulling us in different directions. They're very much aligned. And we do this by providing high quality financial information through effective operations. And we do this in order to support our business strategy and critical decision making. This is why we do what we do every day. So, this is just one example. I would encourage all of you to take that time to think about the mission of your organization. Think about how you're prioritizing, what you're investing in today in people, process, and technology to simplify, to be able to deliver that value and free yourselves up to be the business partner. Again, your companies will expect that, right, from you. Build your own business case, instill that transformational mindset, empower your teams, and ask why, right? Why and how we can serve our businesses. So I think I'll stop there, and if we have a few minutes for Q&A, I'd love to answer a couple questions from the audience.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Brenna, for such an insightful presentation. As a reminder, audience members can still enter questions, and we'll go ahead and review a couple that came through. This one question, Brenna asks, with the shifting priorities for finance teams, what new roles and responsibilities are emerging for financial controllers and their teams?
Absolutely. So I think, when we think about roles and responsibilities, I mentioned data. And we think back to one of those graphics, right? Where we have all this unstructured information or unstructured data and how we translate that into information. So I think, having KPI development, having folks in the organization who have a data analytics background, and can really help provide those business insights. I think within controllership, that's not something that's exclusive to an FP&A, and many of us have hybrid organizations. I would say that is a pretty critical role in finding folks, within our accounting controllership organizations who can wear that data analytics hat and do it well and work with others. I think is really important. What I would say also is more focus on that simplification aspect. That includes automation, process automation, getting, educated about RPA. Even if you're not a technical expert, you're not going to go in there and code it yourself, right? Maybe you can learn how to, build a query and have that mapped and documented where it is Sarbanes-Oxley compliant, for example, right? And know how to work with your IT and BI teams, right, to build things out in a thoughtful way, and again find ways to simplify. So what I would say is there's probably going to be emergence of more, I'm seeing this already, kind of data analysts sitting within finance, even sitting within controllership and accounting, and then folks within just the core teams who are sort of the subject matter experts, right? So from a business user side in some of these technologies, we think about things like Alteryx, for example, right, and building those workflows and doing it with our control, hat on, and doing it in a compliant way. So again, yeah, I think those technology-focused roles and hybrid kind of roles are going to continue to emerge.
Great, thank you. This next question, what resources or training opportunities do you recommend for skill development?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. So, there are all sorts of great training opportunities. I think, obviously organizations like Argyle being out there and providing, sessions like this that focus in on these areas are really important. I think there's a lot of Big Four and other accounting firms who are putting out, trainings, not just the traditional US GAAP updates that of course we all need to have and take those in, but I think a lot of the firms are focusing in, on some of these areas, right? So, how we can be more agile in our internal controls environment, for example, by leveraging technology and data analytics. And I think some other, like some of the vendors perhaps that were mentioned at the beginning, of this presentation and others also, I think, offer some value added sessions. And even if it's not to use that particular product, to help expose you and your teams to what's out there from a technology standpoint, and what are the different ways that you can leverage technology. So I think there's tons of training out there that's free or low cost to the environment, and even offered by accounting firms outside of the normal US GAAP, SEC reporting updates that obviously are table stakes for us, right? So I would say find those opportunities, to leverage the many training, training opportunities out there, and thought leadership that's available just for free, on many of the Big Four and other accounting firm websites.
Excellent, thank you. And I do want to squeeze in this one last question because I know you touched on remaining agile, but how can you ensure, or as financial controllers, ensure that they remain agile and adaptable to changing demands?
Yeah, and then what I would say, it's, my axiom of the close is not an event, right? So if the table stakes things that we do are as simplified, optimized, and efficient as possible, that frees us up for that agility, right? And if we're constantly investing in our people, empowering our people to take on more, right? Again, find ways to eliminate and take non-value added processes out. That is what frees us up to be agile. If we have such a tight process, right, where we don't really have a 3-day close because we're all working till 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., right, to get it done, that doesn't leave any breathing room if the business needs our support on something, right? There's a major transaction that's going to happen, or we're going to enter a new line of business. It's hard to be responsive and agile when we've got the chicken little going on, mentality going on there, because we're just heads down all the time. So I just encourage everyone, make that business case to your leaders about what you can deliver if you get some investment in things like RPA and automation and other emerging technologies. That is what will free you up, that simplification, to be more agile and responsive and really unlock your value as a business partner.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Brenna. That is all the time we have for questions, but thank you again for such an excellent keynote presentation. I also want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be made available on demand following the event. As a reminder, please be sure to check out the prizes and raffle rules section to see how you can earn points for the chance to win one of several prizes. Our next session will begin at 11:35 Eastern, which will be a panel titled "The Modern Day Controller: Defining the Evolving Role of FCs." And we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you again, Brenna.
Thank you.